Hi, I'm your host, Michelle Poverman, a former anxious empath turned mostly grounded psychotherapist, intuitive guide, and energy healer, and this is Into the Work. And it isn't just a podcast. It's your actual invitation to break free from old patterns, end the cycle of your self-abandonment, and finally step into the life your soul has been craving. Each episode is a spark to help you rise higher, to help you shine brighter and reclaim the truth of who you really are. The spark has already been lit. And sister, this is a journey from spark to brilliance. So together, let's go ignite a fire. People don't see you for who you are. They see you through the filter of who they are. And if that's true, which, believe me, it's true, then many of us are spending an extraordinary amount of time and energy trying to control something that has never been ours to control in the first place. I want you to think about that for a moment as we're kicking this off today. Every email that you have rewritten, and listen, I raise my hand here. I have written so many emails to get all the words perfectly right. Every post you've over-edited, every conversation that you have replayed in your head, the rehearsing that you've done, every time you've explained yourself, or even, dare I say, over-explained yourself, every time you've worried that somebody misunderstood your intentions, and this one is also big for me. I hated being misunderstood most of my life. What if all that effort was directed towards something that you could never actually truly manage, and it was just unnecessary? Because here's the truth. Someone can think you are way too much. Someone can also think you're not enough. Someone can think you're brilliant, and someone can absolutely think that you're full of shit and that you're not getting anything right. The exact same version of you creates entirely different experiences in different people. And yet so many women are exhausting themselves trying to manage everybody else's perception. So hey, welcome back to Into the Work. I'm Michelle Poverman, licensed psychotherapist, coach, energy healer, and the person who is going to say the thing out loud today that you've maybe even been afraid to say to yourself because, we do that here. And if you're new here, I just want to say welcome. I'm so happy that you have found your way here. And if you've been here before or you've been here a while, you know that we don't do surface level shit on this podcast. And today is going to be no exception because I really truly believe that in order to help you expand and grow and become who you are really meant to become next, I really feel truly in my heart that the stuff that comes up on this podcast is exactly the things that you need to do, the things you need to heal, the things you need to change in order to get to where you want to go. And before I dive in, I also just want to check in for a second. And I just want to say to you, how are you? And I mean that genuinely. How are you? Not how's the business or how's the family or how's everything else in your life that you're managing. How are you? Because sometimes I think the most radical thing a high-achieving woman can do is truly pause long enough to actually answer that question. Today, we're going to be focused on addressing how outwardly focused that you might be. So I want you just to allow that to land for a second, right? Allow yourself a moment to notice, how do you feel when I ask you that question? How are you? Okay. And honestly, all of this comes from watching so many of the women that I work with, brilliant, soul-led, beautiful, genuinely gifted women. And they tie themselves into knots, just like I did. I'm no better, to try to control something that was never controllable in the first place. We've all been pointed in the wrong direction. And so I want to set us back on course. I want to talk about that today because what I'm going to share with you is both a pep talk and a piece of psychological truth that I think is going to land and settle in. So I started with that quote, people don't see you for who you are. They see you through the filter of who they are, is so deceptively simple, and yet it does change everything. And if it's something you can bring into practice on a regular basis, you can start seeing the world mirroring a really important information back to you. You can take yourself out of the stories that you're creating in your head, but you can understand that what people are experiencing when they see you, when they hear you, and they get to know you is their history, their wounds, their relationship with their mother, maybe their ex, maybe their last therapist, their own fears about being too much or not enough or being unworthy or of what they want and what they're not willing to ask for. All of that gets laid on top of you, your words, your work, whatever you're offering. What comes back to you isn't a reflection of you at all. It's a reflection of them. And now here's the part I want you to sit with. How much energy have you spent trying to control how people perceive you or experience you? And how many times have you rewritten a caption because you were afraid someone might misread your intention in it? Before anybody's even done anything, you've over-explained, over-justified, maybe over-apologized. And maybe that's not you. You wouldn't call it over, but you would just sort of feel that, you can recognize yourself and that you're very conscientious about the words you put out, and to the point of which you might be getting a little perfectionistic. I see you. I truly and really do, because I have done it too. And the women I work with, some of the most capable, most deeply intuitive women I know, they do it every single day. And none of it works because it was never possible to begin with. They were never seeing you. They were seeing themselves. And by the way, you are seeing yourself when you're judging other people. There are aspects to this two-sided mirror, right? And so when we can start doing the work of recognizing, oh, that person just triggered me, instead of being pissed at them, I can actually look at and say, oh, wait, what in me needs to be healed so that I'm not so triggered by that? Or what in me can separate myself from that person and my own insecurities or defensiveness, and take a look at what part of this is mine that needs to be healed, is my story deep down inside. And so in psychology, we call this projection. You've heard of that before. And I know that word gets thrown around a lot, but let me just give you a real definition, okay? Projection is the unconscious process of attributing our own inner experience onto someone or something outside of us. So that's why when someone doesn't like you, it's likely that it has almost nothing to do with you. You could take the same person and have 4 people in the room with that person, and you could be like, that person sucks. That person is so annoying. They don't stop talking. She interrupted me twice. I'm so irritated. Like, I can't stand them. And everybody else in the room is like, oh my God, don't you love her? Right? It's because what's being mirrored back to you and you don't like that one person is that she's mirroring back to you the rules of engagement that you have for yourself, what you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to take up that much space. You're not allowed to interrupt people. You're not allowed to do these things. And so therefore, you have work to do to recognize, what kind of rules do I have in place? What kind of cage am I in? And so that's where the work is really juicy. And as I was putting this together today to talk to you about all this, I actually thought I had this memory of myself working at Filene's Basement. I was like 16 years old. I was working at Filene's Basement. Hey, you know if you know, right? So I was working at the cash register at the checkout line, and this woman came through my line, and I found her mesmerizing. I thought she was so beautiful. I thought she was it's almost like she was just dripping with kindness. I remember thinking, oh my God, like that. I think this woman was probably just a natural healer, but she was so beautiful and wonderful. And as a human seemed so great. And I thought, I want to be like that. I want to be like her. I want to be so kind and so wonderful and so healing for other people. And I just wanted to be magnetic through kindness, right? But what I later realized, that to do so, I realized later in my 20s that I was really erasing parts of me that held so much value. one of the things I can say about why now many of the clients, I mean, most of my clients have worked with me for 6 years or more. I mean, I have clients that have been with me for years and years and years and years. And why who clients who come in to meet me now, my at this level of myself, I know, and I can say wholeheartedly, and if you know me, I think you would agree with this, that part of what you receive from me is me being so real. And that was because I had to overcome trying to be this woman. This woman who came through my line was my goal, and I wanted to be her. And so I really erased parts of me so that I could be this just so loving and kind. Now, I think I realized how part of what I was doing was really checking in and cashing in on being the nice girl. And that nice girl issue is real for us people pleasers. We were valued for what we offered versus who we were. And we found a lot of value in being nice as girls. We received the message. I went to Catholic school. I got the message. That's why when people pleasers here get paid and create a business just by being you, it's kind of freaking them out. They're like, what do you mean just get paid for being me? They see that as a tagline, not a reality. They don't understand that actually what you give to the people is your most real self. And that if you're aligned and you're being authentic and in your integrity, of course, then that is enough. And that is something that took a lot of work for me to recognize. Like, whoa, I have to stop trying to be this version of me and stop erasing all these other versions of me, which people end up being the more healing parts, because when I'm in my most real, people feel the permission to be the most real them too. But think about this. Imagine you are having to put a price tag on what you have to offer. Or perhaps you are finally raising your prices on something that you already offer, okay? And you go ahead and you put that together and you put it out. And someone immediately says, whoa, that is way too high. How do you feel internally? What is your first response? Is it to be defensive, angered, frustrated, or is it to shrink and want to take it back immediately and maybe to soften whatever it is that you're saying? When someone says something like that, like your pricing is too high, that is their wound speaking. Their belief about what they deserve, where their ceiling is at, what they're capable of, their fear about their own worth. And while there's a real reality, I'm not dismissing that. There's a real reality to, having money or not having the money for something and making conscious choices and saying what's a priority and what's not. And there are really beautiful, healthy ways to go about that. But when you're coming up against somebody being reactionary towards something like that, that's just a really great example that it's got nothing to do with you and it doesn't have anything to do with your pricing or your offer or anything. So now here's what this means for you. You, my dear, you cannot curate your way out of being misread or misunderstood. You cannot actually edit yourself small enough that no one gets ruffled by you. No one ever misunderstands you. And the more you try, the more you compromise the signal you're sending to the people who were meant to find you. Because the women who are meant to work with you, she needs the full version of you. The most real you are is what's going to put someone else at ease. And their nervous system can sense your nervous system without words. We know this in psychology as therapists. We know that the nervous systems, at this point, we've learned a lot about our nervous systems and how they talk to each other. And it's part of the whole polyvagal theory, but this idea that, I walk into a room, you walk into a room, we're together, and our nervous systems are already exchanging things, right? They're already having an exchange, and they're already having impact on each other. And how you be in your body when you put out your information and you put out who you are, it is being read in different ways. So you really can't edit all of that. You have to actually truly step in and be the most you can possibly be, because you cannot find the person who you're here to help, and she can't find you if there's any hiding happening. I really want to give you something grounded in what we're talking about here today. If you cannot control how you are received, and we're really establishing here that you cannot. I mean, there's lots of ways you can try to make yourself palatable and all those things, but it doesn't matter. I'm telling you, people are going to have a version of you in their experience that they bring into themselves. If you can't do that, then the only variable you actually have is access to is how fully you show up as yourself. That's it. That's the whole game. And so here's what I want to give you permission to do today. 3 things. And I want you to let each one actually land before you move on to the next. Okay, you ready? You, my dear, are allowed to be so misunderstood. Sit with that. Being misunderstood is not evidence you said or did something wrong. It is evidence that you were seen through somebody else's filter. That's their work, not yours. Next, you are allowed to be too much or too little for other people. The ones who tell you that you're too intense, you're too deep, you're too direct, they're not your people. And that's okay. The world needs people who are too much for the people who are ready for that person. That's what they need. Whoever and however you be, there are people in the world that will vibrationally match you. They will seek you, find you, and feel you, and you are right for them, and they are right for you. It is all meant to be, in this episode, is all an example of how our business is the biggest freaking psychological playground there is. The most deepest work you can have done here is through this particular entrepreneurship journey, or even just work in business, right? Last, I just want to give you permission. You are allowed to stop editing yourself for an audience that was never going to stay anyway. This is the one I want you to carry out of this episode, because I really want to help you stop shrinking for the wrong people. Because here's what I know after 20 years of sitting with women in their deepest places. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And you've probably heard me say that a million times. I like to repeat myself these days. I'm learning. That's how we learn, is through hearing things over and over again. So the way you manage your brand, let's say, is the same way you're probably showing up in relationships. The way you over-explain in pricing or whatever comes up around that is the same way you over-explain yourself to people who need something from you or ask something from you, and you have to say no, right? So I think you're picking up what I'm putting down here. The wound doesn't only live in your business, it lives in your whole life, in your body, in your bedroom, in your friendships, in the way you receive a compliment by immediately deflecting it, in the way you apologize before you even know you did anything wrong. I'm so programmed, by the way, for that. I'm kind of like sorry, not sorry, no pun intended, or yes, pun intended. It is what it is. Sometimes it's like, I just cannot help myself. I just say it. And I'm just like, I've had people, like, I've even had my own clients correct me, like, Michelle, you shouldn't be apologizing. I'm like, you know what? I also believe in not being a massive rule keeper, because that's something I had to heal. I had to heal my rule keeper. So now if I say sorry before you even said anything, I don't get too hung up on it. I know that the work is in progress inside me, and that I'm coming from a different place than I used to in it. So that feels good. So in case that gives you permission, if you're at some stage like me. So it is all connected. And honestly, I really want you to hear this. The moment you stop trying to control how everyone sees you is the moment that you finally become visible. Let me say that again. The moment you stop trying to control how everyone sees you is the moment, my dear, that you finally become visible. And that's why this episode matters. That is why you being able to do your quote unquote work and understand what your blocks are, what's happening in you. And then your job to heal it is related to the dollars you're going to make in your business. It's related to the expansion you're going to have. It's related to your self-sabotage and staying small, all of it. That's why I say, in order to be successful at the level of your dreams, you have to contend with these issues. You have to look at them. You have to get to know them and take the power away from them. Heal them, love them, learn about yourself, understand the parts of you that are getting in the way and sabotaging things, and take the lead. But you cannot do that. You will not do that. You won't if you don't do the work. And in order to have an impact and build the business, people need to see and hear and know you. And being fully seen, heard, and known isn't for the faint of heart for those of us living on autopilot. It's not for the faint of heart for those of us that are people pleasers and healers by nature in a lot of ways. And this work is asking you to disrupt the old way. And so a lot of times it seems very unpalatable, like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like, yeah, I want to do that core wound work. That sounds awesome, Michelle. And then you're like, but do I? Right? Do I really want to go there? Or, hey, I'm going to blow it off. I'm going to not really look at it. But let me leave you with this. The work is not to become someone easier to receive. The work is not to curate yourself into palatability, as we talked about, or polish yourself into something that nobody could possibly misread. The work is to become so rooted in who you are that being misunderstood actually stops costing you anything. That you just don't care. You're like, I was misunderstood. Oh, well, I say this all the time, but they'll have another opportunity to get to know you and like you or not. This is what it looks like to lead from your truth instead of your wound. And a lot of us sisters, you're leading from your wound and you don't even know it. You have no idea how much of your wound is showing up. And that is exactly the work I've been building towards, because next week, I am so excited. It should be coming out next week. I am opening something that I have been creating for something that I'm genuinely excited about. And I can't wait to put it in your hands. It's a diagnostic portal. It's sort of like a quiz, but I'm calling it a portal. In the way that you're used to thinking about quizzes, it's just deeper. Because, listen, if you know me, I do things deep. It's real, it's therapeutic. It's like 5 minutes of your time. And we're going to name your soul level gift, the thing that makes you extraordinary, and the core wound that's really running the show, that's showing up in your present day. So if today's episode landed for you, if you heard yourself in any of these wounds that we talked about, that portal was made for you. It's called What is Your Soul Level Gift and What's Been Blocking It? I will be having the link in the show notes coming up soon. Keep your eyes on your inbox. If you're on my list, I hope you're on my list, my email list. Keep your eyes out on Instagram and on LinkedIn. This is going to be the next right step for you. It's going to help you with some clarity. And I really try to channel, really bring in with an open heart what it is that I share with you. So I really believe that it's going to land for you in your body, and you're going to feel some of what I'm telling you in your results. And honestly, you were always meant to be powerful. You've always been meant to be powerful. And I'm so glad we found each other, because that's my superpower. And it is to light you up, plug you in, so that you can step into your power. You can step into your expansion. That is what I'm here for. And you were always made for this. You were always made for what's coming next. And I'm so excited to see it. So I will see you next week. Bye for now. Thank you for joining me on Into the Work, Therapy for Empaths and Seekers. If this episode spoke to you, please follow the podcast and leave a review. It is the best way to spread this healing work to other women. Your presence here matters. Step into your power, heal your soul, and rise with women who are doing the same. Keep joining us every week, and together we can heal the world. If you're ready to dive deeper, grab your free Shadow Work Transformation Bundle in the show notes, and I will look forward to seeing you next week.